G'day guys and gal! As our data is constantly stored and sold for the purpose of targeting us with specific ads, there's probably a good chance that you've seen the ads for the new 40k mobile game called Lost Crusade. Now I thought the ads were pretty cool, and I was like, no shit, maybe an actually decent mobile game. But then I realized I don't play mobile games, so that's all she wrote. Until it wasn't! The fine lads who developed Lost Crusade reached out to me and they were like, yo dude, wanna play Lost Crusade? And I was like, it depends, are you gonna pay me? And they were like, sure thing buddy boy. So I ended up giving the game a shot. I did however say that any dedicated video I produce is genuine and will have my honest opinion, so don't expect a 10-minute long Raid Shadow Legends ad. And they were like, no worries dude. Honestly, mad respect to a company that backs their product enough to happily allow a genuine review of their stuff, especially a review coming from this guy. Before we get started, get ready to raid! Nah, just kidding. Imagine putting a sponsored segment within a sponsored video. That would be some Semite shit. Today we're going to boot up Lost Crusade, have a play around with it and see if it's a solid mobile game you can play when you're out and about, or if it's just a bit average. This will be more of a review than a let's play, so it won't really include much live commentary, but instead we'll show off the features and fun bits to keep this sharp. Keep in mind as well that I am reviewing this as a mobile game. I won't be benchmarking it against Dawn of War or Total War or some hectic AAA PC game, even though it's probably still better than Dawn of War 3. I'm keen to do more Warhammer game reviews to mix up the content on the channel a bit, so consider this the pilot episode. Let's get into it. Lost Crusade is set during the Indomitus Crusade, as we are a ship that's been stuck on the dirty side of the Imperium. Game kicks off with that librarian going absolutely ham, god damn. This is a cinematic, but it kind of simulates what the actual gameplay is like. First thing I noticed when I booted up was that the game included professional voice acting, which is pretty awesome.
Commander, a psychic disturbance just echoed through the ship. Foul chaos entities are appearing all around us.
The voice acting continues into the mid to late game from what I've seen. However, the music to voice balance can sometimes be super off.
There is too much psychic interference made us play.
And there are times where there is no voice acting at all, where it seems like there should be. But overall, I'm impressed with the dedication. Like every single champion has their own unique voice lines. Majority of mobile games skip voice acting, or if they do have it, they only use it for the tutorial as a way to try and rope players in. Next up, we're going to talk about the actual gameplay, because at the end of the day, that's all we really care about. Now I set my bar pretty damn low for battles in mobile games, for pretty understandable reasons. The first battle fought was not that exciting. There was no real strategy to it and it was more or less just an interactive cinematic. However, later battles got a lot spicier, especially when I unlocked a frickin' Dreadnought hero and the game showed me that heroes could use special abilities. You get a bar and you can either use that bar to bring in soldiers or use special abilities. Now, it's not like a turn-based adventure quest battle, no. Faster units will go to the front and take the brunt of the damage, and will even target the enemy depending on the enemy's position on the battlefield. You also need to decide between activating a hero ability or spawning in units. Spawning in units seems like the better idea, but I often find myself using my Dreadnought shield to soak up the enemy's burst, rather than just calling in some Space Marines. Not a bad system, a lot better than mobile games in my opinion. After 30 minutes I was chucking Dreadnoughts in there, Predator tanks, and all kinds of stuff. I was struggling to figure out how to pick the units which joined me for the battles, as it seemed auto-assigned, but maybe that's just because I'm in the early game phase, and it picked the optimal units or whatever. If it is always auto-assigned, which I'm starting to think it might be, then I'll have to consider that a bit of a negative. Like, why would I want to use Primaris Marines in battle if they cost the same amount to spawn in as a tank or a Dreadnought? It limits the strategy, but like I said, I could just be a Spurg brain that couldn't find the button for it. The battles were super easy for me for the first half an hour, but the game has a scissors paper rock system for unit counters, which really begun to show later on. Lo and behold, about an hour into the battles, I was suddenly really struggling, and had to go back and upgrade my heroes before I could progress. The game also teases a knight to use in battle in the late game, which is pretty bloody awesome, and probably means we're going to be dealing with some spicy shit further down the track. The second aspect of gameplay, yes there's actually two, is the star map. Now the star map is way less fun than the actual fights, but it does allow you to gather extra resources and treasures and also attack other players, which I'll talk a bit more about in a bit. It seems like a way of giving the player more ways to kill time whilst they're waiting for stamina to recharge or an upgrade to finish. Speaking of gameplay, how are the graphics? As the saying goes, the only thing that matters in a video game is the graphics. Everything else is irrelevant. It's a mobile game, so the textures aren't 8K or anything, but I like how they've gone for a stylistic approach, which looks pretty good and doesn't detract from the experience at all. The next thing we need to talk about is often the biggest turn-off for these kind of mobile games: microtransactions. Now, the game is free to play, which means there is going to be either a shitload of ads or microtransactions. That's just the reality of it. Devs gotta eat as well, you know. Fortunately, there is absolutely zero ads, and I was pretty shocked to see that the microtransactions were pretty cheap. These are in Aussie dollars, so in US, most of these packs either cost $1 or $5, and the packs seem to have decent stuff. The best of those being legendary hero units. You can get Kato along with some pretty good stuff for only $1. Now, as a kid, I blew a fat load of my parents' money on mobile game microtransactions. I think it got to like $300 before they realized and tore me a new one. With that $300 spent on a mobile game, you would expect to have some hectic base. Well, no, not really. I think it let me upgrade like 3 walls or some shit. If I bought $300 worth of packs on Lost Crusade, I would genuinely ascend to some kind of cringy mobile god status. Now, definitely don't spend $300 on a mobile game, that would be shocking and your parents will be furious with you, but the point is that the value here is not bad compared to other mobile games. If you compare it to other very popular mobile games, which I can't name for legal reasons, it's quite common for those games to charge like $50 for a basic pack, which comes with like one good hero. I'm not exaggerating here. If I was allowed to, I would show you the screenshots. God damn, that should be illegal. So yeah, props to Lost Crusade for not taking the absolute piss with their microtransactions. A thing to note is that you can still get those legendary items and heroes anyway from playing. I haven't spent $1 yet and my hero lineup is dope. They put a huge emphasis on rewarding you for returning to the game. When you aren't in battle or stealing your mum's credit card, what else is there to do in the game? Well, you spend most of your time on the menu/base screen, which is like a similar kind of format to other mobile games in that it's your base and you can build on designated slots while slowly growing your base size. It gives the appearance that there's a bit of freedom of choice, and I'm sure there are optimal builds in terms of how many of this or that you want, but it's pretty standard for the most part. What I am a fan of is the pacing. I have been upgrading shit left, right and center for the majority of my playthrough. A really annoying thing about mobile games is that usually they try and limit the pace of the gameplay by making upgrade and build times obscenely long, or making it so you can literally only do one thing at a time. But I've straight up been building, training, upgrading and expanding for half an hour non-stop, which is a good sign. The quicker a game lets you progress, the more content the game has. That's the general rule of thumb. The game even awards you activity points for doing shit, which lets you open up chests and get free loot. That to me shows that they would rather have you play once a day for an hour or so, rather than 10 times a day for 10 minutes each. I did notice that as the game went on, construction times and training times went up, and the battles became more difficult to unlock than beat, so it definitely slows down, but not too dramatically. You get given a shitload of construction and training boosts for free, so you can overcome most of the construction time with that, or you know, just go outside for once, you greasy monkey. The UI is a little crowded, as is standard with these types of games, but it barely flashes microtransaction deals on the screen, and locating objectives is really easy, even if you have no clue what the objective actually is. You can join an alliance and send and receive help with only the touch of a button. You don't need to actually go into your ally's base, see 3 loading screens just to take 2 minutes off their build time. Because of how easy it was to do shit, even if you actually don't know what you're doing, you are still able to progress greatly in a single session. They also give you quite a lot of resource pack thingos that you can pop. The multiplayer, to me, seemed a bit superficial. Join an alliance, press a button to jerk them off so they'll jerk you back, and occasionally rally together to auto-resolve a battle against some bad guys to get some nice loot. There is PvP, but it's very rudimentary from what I've seen. I attacked this poor dude's base, won an auto-resolve, stole some of his resources and just kinda left. You and your alliance do get to put your bases next to each other, and you occupy your own bit of space, which is a nice detail, but overall the multiplayer doesn't feel like an essential part of the game. Like if they removed it or never launched with it, I don't think there'd be anyone being like, you know what this game is missing? Superficial multiplayer. Now I'm a sucker for details, so I appreciate the little stuff, like how our super nerd gives us some brain dead trivia, or that you can see a knight is something we can get later on. There is also rogue traders, as well as semi-animated cinematics like every 15 minutes or so. You can really tell that the devs of this game are Warhammer fans. Like during my playthrough, a random interactive cutscene occurred in which enemy ships attack my base. No clue what that was supposed to be, but yeah, some dude or chick spent hours modeling, texturing, and coding that into the game, which I'm all about. I'm sure that will eventuate into something at a later time, but for now, it's just kinda cute. A detail that I wasn't a big fan of though is the fact that upgrading buildings doesn't change their look at all. It tries to trick you into thinking it changes its look as it has an upgrade animation, but a level 1 building looks the same as a level 10 one. Obviously a huge nitpick, but hey, what are you gonna do about it? So to summarize, the pros of this game is the decent battle gameplay, a shitload of content, fair microtransaction prices, good pacing and good voice acting. Ironically, the biggest thing that this game needs improvement on is also the battle gameplay. The fundamentals are solid, but they seem to be unnecessarily hamstringing themselves here. I should be able to pick which units I'm bringing into the battle, and each unit should cost a different amount. The Whirlwind tanks do way more damage than the Primaris squad, but they cost the same amount. On top of that, I should be able to keep bringing in more of the same unit. I previously saw now updated gameplay that reflected this. In this old tutorial battle, you used to be able to spam units, which got me really excited. I thought maybe you could do like a Space Marine Zerg rush, or instead invest in more powerful but less numerous dreadnoughts and tanks. They should also bump up the hero limit in battle from 3 to 5, giving the heroes a cooldown on their ability instead of it costing points and a cooldown. The points should be spent on units instead for bigger battles.
But Majorkill, that would make the game too easy.
Timmy, what did I say about featuring on sponsored content? Shoot, child. Easy solution to that, just add more enemies. The point I'm getting to is that the battles could be bigger, hence add more room for strategy. This could honestly take over as one of the better 40k games, even compared to the PC ones, if they just drilled down and invested hard into the battles, making them bigger and giving the player more strategic choice. You can tell the devs worked hard with a lot of passion and ambition on this game. I was genuinely surprised at how much I enjoyed it. Like, I never play mobile games, and within 2 days I had sunk more hours into this than I'd like to admit without spending a single dollar. Overall, as a mobile game, I give it an 8 out of 10, with room to improve if they really nail the core battle gameplay. This also lines up pretty well with the rest of the game reviews, which have it penned at almost a perfect score. Use my download link below if you want to check out the game, and again, a big cheers for the devs at Lost Crusade for paying for Leroy's dog food and allowing me to give an honest review. Peace.